I had a slouch hat too one time, the old slouch hat. I just keep walking around, he keeps walking around with me. Round that necktie count we went. When it rained, I wore my old slouch hat. It was a good felt that I had to carry through many rainy days, late fall and the early spring. Perhaps it was a rainy day and the house dick might have saw my hat. Each time that ring worth $6. Brooks Brothers, $60 worth of ties. Slacks with peculiarities. I couldn't even find a pair of slacks that I thought was suitable to wear. Wrapped one pair around me and pinned it in with a safety pin, pulled up my trousers and went out and looked at myself in the mirror. Oh no, those won't do, and I walked out. Wrapped the slacks around my waist, took two other pair, went to the mirror, threw them at the salesman. No, those won't do. Good afternoon, and walked out. Slouch hat I got at Harvard Club, Yale Club, Princeton Club, one of the other, Dartmouth Club, University Club. Always bought the yacht club because I thought it was a little over my kin. Dorman knew that only Mr. Astor, Mr. Vanderbilt, Mr. Whitney belonged. He couldn't say good morning, Mr. Astor, because he knew I wasn't Mr. Astor. I always figured a way to heal into those other clubs. Not only a member of Who's Who, but a Who's Who ought to be have a member of Who's Who in New York in a special clique of Who's Who slouch hat. I get in the athletic club many times. I go up in the billiard room and I would wander around back, room, hands in back, and every coat rack I backed up against, feel for the wallet. One day I walked out there with 10 wallets. Bellboy looking me over. Pretty soon a very dignified looking gentleman came up and buzzed the bellboy. He says, "Who?" And I says, "Man told me his name while we were drinking at the bar, and he told me to meet me in the billiard room in the athletic club. I don't see him, so I better go." Tell me about the old slouch hat. One of my numerous trips to one of the numerous clubs in New York City. The hat finally was left in the hotel, which I had to leave rather hurriedly one night, never to return, so the hat was given to the cast-offs of the hotel, which they collect in rummage sales. It may now be worn by one of the members of Skid Row, New York City, the Bowery. I seen that hat by moonlight. I had a pointed mustache, I mean pointed half-inch from here. An old-rested vest and a derby hat, and striped trousers, English shoes, black, very pointed, they were Hannah shoes. People on Broadway turned to look at me. The worst is yet to come. I had a pince nez with a long black ribbon to my buttonhole. And I wore a carnation, white or red. Boy, did I look like something. A year later, I got caught. I was dressed differently and everything, but boy, that mustache and that pince nez was really out of this world. I used that outfit 6 months. Finally, I had to pack it in because it was too well worn. Pince nez was in a coat I stole. Mustache I grew in the sanitarium while taking one of my numerous drug cures. My mother would come to see me. She'd say, "Oh no, cut it off. I'm just having a little fun, mother." Took it on the lam and went to Canada. Late at night and full of morphine, I come down full of goofballs too. This guy had ventriloquist doll and he gave out this Texas winning routine. "Hello, sucker, we like your money as well as anybody else's. As a matter of fact, the bigger you roll, the more we take you." He used to get everybody interested with a doll and cut out silhouettes, put stripes in your tie. Wound up in his room and gave him a shot of morphine. Out on the highway, I thumbed a ride in the Buffalo and I put the bum on the guy for something to eat. Even my drugstore. So he went in the back and he had corn on the cob, boiled potatoes. "Say, fellow, I always hear people talk about morphine. What's it look like?" He shows me. He had a Kia cabinet and he had bottles of hundreds, quarter grains, half grains, Panapon, dialed it, everything. As soon as he tended the customers, I emptied the bottles. Got out of that pretty quick, bought a safety pin in Buffalo and took a shot in the toilet. Come out and saw a fellow shaving, his coat hanging there, hung my own coat and gave his coat a brush in my hand, felt his wallet, washed my hands, and went out and took off with the wallet. So I started on a shoplifting campaign in Buffalo. Wasn't very experienced at it. Started out with a top cat and I sold it in a taxi cab stand. Next day I decided to get myself some suits and went up. I had a suit box. I walked about and put the suit box in one of the dressing rooms, looked and fooled in the mirror, went out, I hogged those two. Next day, like a damn fool, go out to the same store, but I got a newspaper instead of a suit box. Thought I'd try a new routine. Two guys kind of watching me. I went in, wrapped myself up, 2 suits, went in the elevator, bottom gentleman tapped me on the arm. "Will you come with me, please?" In the county jail, they ate breakfast and got oatmeal with 1 spoonful of molasses. For lunch, stew, mostly bones, graveyard stew. And for supper, dinner at night, beans. And you couldn't smoke.